Joe, good day, gents, and welcome to another episode of Father's Fire. My name is Jody Sedrick, as you know, and every week we get together to explore the joys, the challenges, the triumphs, the sorrows, and yes, the fun of being a dad. And I'm telling you, I'm getting really excited. We're getting towards the end of winter. The days are getting a little longer, and the sun's staying out, and it makes me feel great and excited for boating season and surfing and anything water. So I'm counting down the days to get the boat out. And but we still got a little bit of winter left. But oh well, it is what it is. So anyway, as always, guys, super glad to be with you. And just kind of an update. My book is really close to being done. I had a last minute idea that I think is really relatable to the book. So I'm hoping to send it to the publisher this week. So as soon as I get an idea of when that'll be available, I'll set up a place where we can do pre-orders. So the book is all about faith and how I think we oversimplify faith and how faith requires you to dig in not only to yourself, but also into others and even to God and form a true relationship. So I'm hoping that it'll really touch your hearts and it'll have an impact on you. So anyway, look for that. So I'm super excited. I have a guy that has become a really good friend. He's been a guest on my Road to Fest podcast. He's been a guest with his son on this podcast. I'll put a link to it. I'll have to go back and find it. It's been a minute. But yeah, so I'm super excited. My good friend Joe Kimball, how you doing this evening?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. So I'm super excited, and I was scrolling through your feed as I often do. For one of the reasons is because you have a collegiate athlete daughter, like my daughter, and so I love watching you post all of her softball games and how they're going up in the rankings. And dude, it just looks like so much fun.
Oh, you know what? Allie's been playing since she was years old, but college ball is a whole. I get to truly just be dad. It's so much in and to watch a team that is phenomenal. That better.
Yeah. What's fun to me is in some of your posts that you've done, not only have you highlighted Allie, but you've also like sometimes you've had to watch games at home on ESPN or something, and your son, man, he loves little Joey loves to watch it. He gets so
Oh
animated,
man!
man.
Oh, if you think that's animated, he gets crazy.
Does he?
It's fun. I mean, everybody. I mean, from the coaches, the players, the umpires. I mean, the cousin. Joey will throw, "Oh, come on, man!" and they'll turn around, and give him a smile, and back out there. So
That's fun. And I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate watching you and your family, rally around Allie and support her and be her biggest fan. It brings back so many memories of Judy and I traveling the country with our daughter, both in club and then into college. And dude, it was just such a great experience. And our other kids competed too, but she's the only one that made it all the way to the collegiate level. And it just, like you said, it's a different game at college versus high school and club.
oh yeah.
So, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, last week you had a post and I went and grabbed the picture. So, I'm going to share a picture with you guys. And this is from Joe, and I have not prepared him for this.
Oh no.
Because I wanted to get his true reaction and I wanted to be able to throw a fast pitch at him and see if he could serve it up. So, anyway, this is the picture that he posted.
The Christmas picture.
I love so those of Yes, those of you that are listening, via audio. It's a picture of his kids around the Christmas tree. It's a picture from Christmas, obviously. But the thing that really struck me was not only the picture, but what you said in that post about really not seeing the impact of what you do as a dad until later. And I think a lot of times we as dads, we're in the minutia of trying to raise our kids, trying to build a business, trying to provide and be present. So, what were you thinking, as you when you posted that picture? And what are some of the things that you've discovered now that your kids are getting older? You're starting to see them fulfill their dreams. Kind of walk us through that.
Man. So, I was growing up. I gotta watch my language here. I was hard. I was hard on them. Sometimes I look back and I think, was I too hard? But then now watching all my kids, Cody, he's about to turn running a successful business. I mean, he's growing in what he's doing. Girlfriend that's pretty darn serious now. Joey, watching Joey grow and thrive, from the Tim Tebow dance that he goes to every year, to working at the shop. Now she's, Allie growing up, she was how this was her safe haven, and seeing her now blossom, and she's at college, and she's going to parties, she's getting out there, she's having fun. So I saw that quote. I can't remember where I saw it, but I struck a chord that, when, seeing our kids smile, seeing them grow, it opens a whole new realm for us. It made me go back and kind of look at, like I said, being hard on them, to now I don't have to be hard. I get to be dad. I get to sit back. I get to watch them thrive and do what.
So, I'd like to ask you an underlying question there. So, when you say that you were hard on them, looking back, do you think that you were too hard on them, that you would have been a little softer? Or do you think that you had the right balance?
Was probably a little too hard on them, but in the end, in the adults and they don't resent me for being hard on them. They actually have told me they've appreciated the growing up how I was. I think there was a good balance.
I like that because I think a lot of times a lot of dads struggle with the balance of being hard and being abusive. And there can be a delicate line there, especially emotionally and verbally, because we know that our very presence and our demeanor and the tone of our voice can really strike at the chord of the heart, at the very heart of our heart, and in some ways can be very shredding if we're not careful. And so trying to find the balance of, all right, these are the standards that we've set in our family. These are the consequences if you don't meet those standards. But also allowing, and there was a great question proposed by my friend Mike Lewis a couple weeks ago. He said, is it better to do it right, or is it is it better to do it right the first time? And resoundingly, all of the comments were yes, yes, absolutely. There's no excuse for not doing it right the first time. And I commented, it depends. And he's like, what do you mean by that? I said, well, like, for example, raising my children, I had to recognize that they're not going to get it right the first time. I have to give them space to try, to experiment, to give them freedom to make their own decisions and then deal with the consequences that naturally come from those decisions. And that's a tough balance. And he's like, oh man, you're right. Right. So looking back, how did you create that balance between, being hard, but also being loving and giving them space to grow?
Mistakes, honestly, a lot of mistakes, and learning from those mistakes. Man, that's a tough one. I'll be honest with you. I don't think there was ever really like a defining balance of the two. It was sometimes I said some things that I regret, and that's hard. The most part, I tried to lead by example. If they did something wrong, instead of blasting, just like an employee, instead of blasting them on what they did wrong, let's give them 3 things they did right, and we'll work on that one.
Mm. That's really good. I like that because I think especially in the moment, right, when your kids are messing up, it's easy to feel disrespected, disappointed, and sometimes we can really overreact and our words and our demeanor can be really harsh, right? And I think one of the key things that I've tried to learn over the years is that, you know what, your kids are not going to remember every little thing that you teach them, but they are going to remember how they felt in your presence. And I think that's really important. And I think that's what I see, especially in the dynamic with you and your kids. I see that your kids not only feel safe with you, they feel encouraged and inspired to push themselves to greater heights, but they also feel, most importantly, loved. Like dad's got them. I mean, your kids, I can tell they feel loved by dad.
They do. So, we've talked about this before, but my childhood, my upbringing, but he wasn't, and the same with my mom. So, when kids, when Cody was born, it was experience, and I didn't have. I don't think I was prepared. I didn't have the right tools to be a dad, and I learned and I grew from that. There's things that I implemented with my kids, like, they used to hate it, but growing up, we never, my family, we didn't. It was grab your plate, go to your room, go outside, go to the living room, whatever it may be. But that was one thing that, and I think it came from not having that. Now, I mean, even to this day, we eat dinner, we're eating at the table, we're eating as a family. And
Yeah.
I know they hated that at times, but now it's like, oh, we can go ahead and eat in the living room. No, let's eat at the table, and we get to talk and talk about our day, talk about our experiences, things like that. So, those are, that was a definite. Kids carry that on with their kids.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in table time.
Oh yeah.
There is a lot of power in table time. So, you mentioned making mistakes. So, I have two questions related to that. So, one, how did you as dad own your mistakes? And two, how did you figure out what you wanted to be as a dad?
Oh man, I'll tell you, to figure out what I wanted to be as a dad, um, that came what I didn't want to be as being a dad. I didn't want to be, I put this out there. I didn't want to be a mean dad, be a dad that was just there. those are experiences that I grew up with and learned. And don't get me wrong, I miss my dad, but he taught me a lot of, and it's the same with my mom. Over the years, it's grown into just that. I sometimes, realizing when I said something that maybe I shouldn't have, or I reacted how I shouldn't have. It may take me a day, may take whatever, but I'm thinking about what I just said to my kids, and then remembering how when I was approaching. So that's been a really big tool, is to step back and think, how did I feel? Dad said I wouldn't amount to anything when my dad called me a name, and I don't want my kids to feel that.
I really love that, right? Because you approached it from the perspective of how did you feel as a kid, right? And how am I making my child feel? And I think a lot of times we get so caught up in the dynamics of being a good dad that we're really not focused on what is important. And that is, how do we feel between each other? Do we love being with each other? I mean, yes, when you're 13, 14, dad, get out of the room. You're in my face. You don't know anything you're talking about. But what's really fun, and you're encountering this just like I am, it's like, man, the relationship with my kids now that they're older, it's like, it's so fun, right? Because we're talking about, no, we're talking about adult things, but we also are very playful,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I still go surfing with my son. I go snow skiing with my kids. I mean, they're leaving me in the dust on the mountain now. I mean, that's just part of the transition, right? And so it's so much fun to realize, to look back that, you know what, maybe in some moments I was a little harsher than I wanted to. In fact, I can remember two in particular that, dude, if I could go back and redo, I would do that, right? But at the same token, in the moment, I owned my stuff. I went into my kid or kids, because it was two different ones in particular what I'm thinking about. And I went to them and I said, look, I am so sorry, because I, in that moment, was not at my best. And I should not have lost it in the way that I did, because you don't deserve that. And I've often told them, I I've told them, I'm like, look, I'm not the perfect dad, but I do try to love you perfectly. And I'm going to make mistakes. I mean, so I'm saying I'm sorry. I'm also forewarning you that I'm going to make some more, but I want you to know that I'm trying out of a place of love. And I think when we parent out of a place of love, the do's and don'ts become less important, as it does in becoming kind of a guide to help them mature and become the men and women that are embedded in them, that God's given them all these amazing talents and gifts that are just waiting to be flourished. And sometimes we as dads, we can squash those talents by the tone of our voice and the way that we treat them, instead of being the water and the sun that allows them to flourish. It feeds them and ignites that excitement to explore who they can be.
Oh, yeah. You know what the reward for being, well, maybe the right word, sat on the tip of my tongue, but it is the best reward is when your kids get to the age where teaching you the lessons. Now they're teaching you
Oh
life.
gosh. Yeah.
You know, Allie and her drive, her pursuit, the best she can be at softball. It's open to, how I want to run my Joey, he's that doesn't exist. To do, there's a task in front of him. He may it, but he's gonna keep trying. He's not gonna, and it's the same with Cody. He was the one that actually started our business. I was scared to do it. Cody was like, "Heck no, man!" And I mean, look at where we are now. It is the most the life lessons. I can go, yep, I raised them right. Now they're passing back on to me.
I didn't know that Cody was the impetus for your business. That's inspiring, right? Because I think a lot of times we as dads think that we're the driver, we're the leader, and your kids reach this point where all of a sudden they can take charge and they can be the inspiration, they can be the impetus for growth. And it's like last year, my kids for Father's Day gave me a guitar, right? And that I've always wanted to learn how to play the guitar, but I've been inspired to learn the guitar because my son Devin, Christian, and Zane all play the guitar. And I love listening to them play. And I'm like, dude, I I got to learn how to play the guitar. So, I mean, every night, almost every night this year, and since Father's Day, I've practiced. And the fun thing is you're starting to be able to recognize the songs.
I've tried to play the guitar, but I got short, stubby fingers. It doesn't work out that
well. No, that's fun, man. Well, so, now that you're, at this stage, right? I mean, your kids are moving into the next phase of life. Now, what is that doing for you and your wife? I mean, what kind of conversations are you guys having about each other? Obviously, you're still going to have Joey around, right? Because of his autism.
Yeah.
But still, the dynamic's going to change because Cody looks like he's getting close to being married. Allie's such a beautiful girl. I can't see how she's not going to catch somebody's heart, right? So, I mean, you got to be having kind of a little bit of different discussions than you've had in the past.
Well, it's funny you say that. So laying there and I hit something wrong there. And Cody was at his girlfriend's house. Allie's always being Joey in his room playing Wii, whatever it was. And both of us just looked at her and it's like, we looked at each other and it's like, is this defining the rest of our life? Our kids are going off and they're moving away. And it's, it's like one of the conversations, and it was probably a little bit too soon when I brought this up, but here one day and I said to her, hey, question for you. I said, you kind of know where Joey's at with his autism. He'll never live. Are you prepared to get married? And out, she goes, you know what? Because my mom asked me the same thing, and I was like, holy cow. Okay, but it was really cool to even listen to her. She's like, no, she's like, Joey will have a place forever. And she's like, and it's funny. Cody gives her, he's like, Joey, your girlfriend. As soon as she walks in, sits right next to her. So
that's fun.
But
that's so fun, and go ahead. Sorry.
What kind of conversations is, we've had in our mind is, we're not getting any younger, and Cody's starting to take over a lot more of the business where, I've actually him take that part over. We're looking at retirement. We go, what kind of things are we going to do? Now, if we can afford that is another.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting because I found that if you have a big enough dream, whether what if it's a small dream, medium-sized dream, a big dream, if it's really important to you, somehow you find a way to make it come to fruition. It's like God's going, you know what? I see the seriousness of your heart. I see the love in your heart. And you know what? I'm gonna let you work for it, but down the road, when the timing's right, I'm gonna put all the things into place to make that come to pass. I mean, Judy and I mean, every day, I mean, not every day, but at least 5 times a week, I'm out watching something about sailing, right? And Judy and I are counting down the days, and we're not sure when that day is that we are able to go and buy a catamaran and sail the world. And she's like, yeah, but I got to be able to come back and see my kids, or they got to be able to come and sail with us. And I'm, oh, no, I get that, right? Um, but I think the thing that's fun is that, Judy and I have not become strangers over time. And so now that our kids are starting to leave, we've always invested in each other and remained close and pursued each other and made time for each other. That now that our kids are leaving, it's not like we're completely feeling like we have this big old hole in our heart. It's rather, all right, what is the next phase? How do we incorporate the kids and their families down the road? What do we get to do as a couple? In fact, I mean, I mean, literally for the last week, every night we've been looking at Greece because in September we're going to go to Greece for our 35th wedding anniversary, and we're like, all right, where can we go? What can we do? And I mean, you got to have that, man. It's exciting to dream and build together.
It is. When she went to work up in Bellevue at a hotel, which was hour to work, 2 to 3 hours. She'd leave at 5 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night, something in her stomach. I don't want to say that hampered our relationship, but time with each other. And now that we have the business, she runs the office, and we to work together, we drive home together. It's helped that's strengthened our.
That's awesome. Well, man, obviously you and I can keep talking, but I want to be, respectful of your time. So, you know, looking back, now that you're at this point, right, and you're kind of discovering new dynamics of what it is to have kids, that are moving out and still involved. What are one or two things that you would recommend to younger dads who are in the middle of the fight, trying to figure out how they're going to survive? And what would you tell them?
Well, first and foremost is be present. Be present in their life. Be supportive, positive with them. Um, they, a lot of dads want their boys to be football players. Well, what if your son's here? Don't discourage that. Help them follow their dreams. Help them, follow their passions. Um, but is be present. And as we talked, make mistakes. If we were perfect, how would this work? Your mistakes. Learn from those mistakes.
Yeah, no, I love that. Well, thank you, Joe, so much for sharing your insight, your wisdom, sharing your love for your family with us. I just, like I said, I really enjoy watching you via Facebook. I'd love to actually go watch one of Allie's games. I think it'd be a kick in the pants. But yeah, it's fun to watch. And guys, if you guys don't know Joe Kimball, go connect with him on Facebook. He's out there. He's mentioned it many times. Him and his kids his family. They have a really phenomenal business. They have Kimball's Hands-On Detailing. You guys are in Washington area, and so if you guys are in the Washington area and you need excellent detailing team. These are the guys to go to. And if they don't do a good job for you, Joey's going to say, "You're fired."
Oh, get ready for that one. Actually, Joey's we're business here before too long, and it's
that's awesome.
An apparel line that blank on the word I just had on the tip of my tongue. Inspirational apparel line, but it's also going to have what we call the Joeyisms in there on some of his apparel too. You're fired, go home. Yeah, so
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. Give my love to your boys and Allie, and thank you so much for being my guest. I mean, I've really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you guys for tapping in. It's been a minute since I've actually had a guest. So it's kind of fun to have somebody to chat about their experience. So if there's something that you would like to talk about, or if you'd like to be a guest, reach out to me. I'd love to have you and talk about your experience as a dad, because really the sole purpose of this podcast is to ignite the fire within us to be better husbands, better fathers, to ultimately be better men, so that we can have an impact, a true and lasting positive impact on our family. So thank you guys so much for tapping in, and we will check you same time, same bat channel just next week. See ya!